All right, I'm going to go ahead and do the intro. Thanks everyone for jumping on. We're excited to have you today. For our webinar here, FP&A for manufacturing industry, navigating the pitfalls to ensure strategic planning. I'm going to go over some Zoom webinar homework that we'll get out of the way here. So before we get started, a few tips on using the Zoom platform if you're not familiar, so you can engage with our presenters and have the best experience possible. You should see the following icons on your Zoom toolbar: ask a question, chat, and raise your hand. You can use the ask a question or chat to submit a question at any time or comment. If you need assistance, click on the raise hand and I'll connect you with one of our presenters. I do encourage you to ask questions throughout the entire presentation if anything comes up, and we'll address those towards the end of the webinar. For audio, if you experience audio issues, you can access your audio settings and test your audio when you're already in the meeting. At the bottom left-hand corner of the Zoom meeting toolbar, you'll find either the headphone or the microphone logo to either join audio, mute, unmute. Click join audio to choose to connect your computer audio, or you can dial into the meeting with a phone. Once your audio is connected, just go ahead and click mute to disable the audio for us. And also as a reminder, this presentation recording and the slide to download the slide deck will be sent to you guys within 72 hours. So you can go ahead and share that along and you'll have that to look back on. All right, so our learning objectives today are achieve valuable perspective for integrated FP&A processes and capabilities, to understand the importance of data integration in the evolving industry, and to learn to recognize common underlying data structure problems that handcuff many organizations. And here's our agenda. We'll start off with learning objectives and introductions, the 4 core FP&A processes. FP&A is the central point of collaboration, importance of people, process, and technology, foundation necessary for efficiency, and then closing, and we'll do some Q&A. And here's our presenters today. We're excited to have Gabe Masis, David Sanders. If you guys want to, Gabe, go ahead and give a little intro.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Gabe Masis. I'm a manager here at Armina within our consulting practice, and I currently reside in Columbus, Ohio. I spent my first half of my career at Ernst & Young within the audit practice, as one of my main focuses was manufacturing. I then jumped ship over to the consulting world here at Armina within our FP&A technology consulting group with a focus on Workday's adaptive planning FP&A solution. I'll pass it over to David to introduce himself.
Thanks. So David Sanders, I've spent most of my career in corporate finance. I was with PepsiCo for a number of years, Bimbo Bakeries, Southern Glazer's Wine and Spirits, did some time in aerospace manufacturing. So I've held the FP&A kind of responsibilities from a number of different chairs: field finance, sales finance, commercial and ops finance. And now for the past 2 years, I've been with Armanino, kind of helping clients identify issues and make changes to improve or build out kind of FP&A processes. So wanted to talk with you today about kind of what we mean and what we go into. So in the first part of our presentation here, we'll have a number of very short polling questions. I won't really debrief them, just a chance for us to know kind of who we're talking to here. And we'll try and clear those out of the way during my section so that when Gabe gets in and shows you some of what future state capabilities can look like, we don't interrupt that for you. So I believe we might have one of those coming up right off the bat here. Tracy, is that right?
Yep, here's number 1. I'll go ahead and launch it right here. Whoops. Sorry about that. You guys can see that on your screen?
Yes.
Perfect. I'll give a couple seconds here. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go. And there's the results.
Awesome. So a bunch of kind of mid-sized companies is the most that we have, but nice group of people kind of all over the spectrum. So cool. So first part of today is to put words to kind of what do we mean when we talk about FP&A, right? A lot of people, they can mean different things to different people. Usually when we talk with clients, what we talk about is there's 4 kind of core buckets that we think of when it comes to FP&A. There's a multi-year strategic plan or strat plan. There's the annual budgeting or AOP, annual operating plan process. And then you have your periodic reporting that most people do, and then the periodic forecasting, which some people do. So going kind of working around counterclockwise from strategic plan, right? Strategic plan is where we generally talk about the big picture items. Where do we want to go? What do we want to stand for? Who do we want to be as a company? This is where you might set big goals and talk about some different aspects of how we might get there. But it's really going to be tied more around, we want to get into these accounts. We want to get into these geographies. We want to be this size over the next 5 years. We want to grow however fast it might be. The more experienced, the bigger or more advanced your organization is probably going to determine how deeply and how numeric that strategic planning process is, right? It could be very high level, could be more granular and in-depth with lots of line items on your P&L forecasted. Then the annual operating plan becomes where you operationalize this year's piece of that multi-year strat plan. This is kind of the underlying idea of you get what you measure. And so what are the right pins that we want to set out there for our teams to go hit? How do we want them focused as they go throughout the year to run their business? And you're going to set things at the right line items. You're going to make it things they can control and things that you want to measure on and talk about along the way. I'll skip over to reporting, and this really comes down to kind of 2 main factors in the reporting bucket. It talks about who's asking and what are they asking for is the first piece. That's going to determine the type of analysis that is requested. And then from there, that's going to be offset by kind of the constraints or the limiting factors of what's gettable to provide on a reporting basis. And frankly, a lot of times it's what do we have time to provide? What we see all the time are stressed teams that are undermanned and usually strapping together difficult data systems. And they're trying to figure it out along the way. And they tap out on one of those 2 areas. Either it's not gettable or we don't have all the time that we would like. The last part I'll talk about is the periodic forecast. This is usually the last piece to evolve. And it's because it's usually seen as kind of overwhelming and boy, it would be nice to get there, but we can't. Your period close process might take too long. And so you just don't get to it. The thing I usually try to break people of that habit on is to say, do what is most relevant for you and make sure you maximize kind of the juice for the squeeze in this process. You don't have to do everything from the top to the bottom of the P&L and your cash flow and your balance sheet, right? Pick what makes sense for you, match what will change on a periodic basis to being what you forecast. So don't go more frequently than you need and don't go to line items that aren't going to change. So one of the things I've seen is that companies might say, hey, we're going to reforecast the OPEX section of our P&L on just a once a year basis. We'll set it at the end of the year, and then we will refresh it halfway through the year. But you might flow your revenue and cost of goods on a month by month basis and have kind of the trend impact for your next couple months flow through to your forecast. So there's lots of options there. So I ask people, hey, think about what might make sense for you because it might be more achievable than you think. So let's jump in. I think we have our next polling question, and then we'll talk a little bit why FP&A is so hard.
All right, awesome. We get to polling question number 2 here. All right, can you guys see it on your screen?
Yes.
Perfect.
Cool. That one should go by pretty darn quickly.
Yep. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
That is about what I would have expected. So great to see. Cool. All right, so let's talk about why FP&A is so hard. It's hard, frankly, because it's where everything comes together. The joke I sometimes make is it's the flashlight on all the dark secrets of the organization, right? People can, when they're off in their own little functional silos, they get to make up different assumptions. We get to kind of use plugs to mask over missing or bad data. We have conflicting assumptions across different parts of the organization. Usually the FP&A process is where all of that surfaces. The classic example of that being, sales, operations, and finance present 3 different slides in sequence, and all of them are talking about the same topic and say 3 different things. That usually is going to mean that there are problems like we're about to talk about that are underlying it. And so this is where FP&A is where everything comes together. So next polling question, and then we'll get to kind of what are the problems that we always see.
All right. Here we go. How many data sources feed the budget and/or forecast process in your organization? I just realized I didn't I didn't read out the other two. My apologies. All right, here we go.
Yep, that certainly makes sense to me. If you're one of those 0 to 3, a lot of times that's a new organization, or you're lucky. The other ones are much more common. So where do we see problems come up with FP&A, right? It falls into 3 main buckets: people, process, and technology. That's kind of how we think about these different problems. And it could be anything. It could be personalities or capabilities that you have gaps, right? You don't maybe have the right people, or they haven't gotten the right training, and so they don't have the right skill set to be what you need. It could be simple misunderstanding of who owns what and who's got the right responsibilities. And then analysis part of FP&A is usually what falls away when we run into bandwidth constraints. That's boy, it would be great to understand this part of our business, but we just don't have time to go do it. That leads kind of right into the process piece, which process is usually about mismatched expectations or mismatched ways of approaching things. So whether it's a centralized top-down approach to forecasting and budgeting, but realistically you run your business in a decentralized and bottom-up way, or you're not seeing data or having discussions at the right level of granularity that you have everything you need to make the right decisions, or that you get people that are caught in the weeds and can't see the forest for the trees, and you're lacking that strategic angle to your business. Those are all very common things that speak to underlying process issues. And then lastly is just from a core technology perspective, we see problems all up and down the line. At the highest level of, do you have a data and tech strategy and governance in place to say this is how we're going to evolve over the coming years, versus being very reactionary. The other part is, in the world we're about to talk about, integrations and efficiency and automation becomes more and more important. And so then the last part is, most of being able to achieve that or not relies on whether your data foundation is in place. So we'll do our last polling question here before we then get into kind of what we mean by data foundation.
Polling question 4, how long on average does your annual budgeting process take? Got less than a month, 1 to 2 months, or over 3 months? All right, I'm going to end it here now. So we got 1 to 2 months, mostly.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good. There's usually that over 3 months is common for a lot of organizations. So glad to see that some people aren't at that level of pain. So this is a slide that our data and analytics team a lot of times talks about. They have some great presentations on what the world of machine learning and artificial intelligence and robotic process automation is going to mean in the future. One slide from that is talking about the organizations that are going to accelerate or get held back are the organizations that are going to address or not address what we call the roots of the data tree here. So the colorful stuff up at the top is the fun stuff to talk about, things people always wish they had that could be competitive advantages for them. But generally speaking, where it all falls apart is that people don't have their house in order at the foundation or the roots level, right? This is where you might have 4 different systems and you've got data that should match across systems, and it almost matches across systems. A lot of times it's your finance or your accounting teams that are having to reconcile those very slight differences from system to system, but those slight differences become major showstoppers in actually getting to some of the really cool capabilities that are going to become more and more common in the next couple of years. I would stress on this page that this is the stuff that we coach people on that is going to be one of the biggest differentiating factors over the coming years as people face worker shortages and people look to replace it with automation and integration, that you've got to do this homework at some point, and it kind of can't be faked. And so this is one where if you need help with this, we certainly help with that sort of stuff. But on the next page, I'm going to at least talk with you about within your organization as leaders and managers, what are the things you can listen for that can tip you off that you might have some of these problems that need to be addressed. So if we want to go to that slide, Tracy, right? These are the types of things that we hear that tips us off that we've got different investigative work to do. So hearing your kind of people who pull the forecaster budget together say, yeah, that's not that easy to get that number for you, or nah, getting the data takes forever and it's all over the place and I have to talk with 8 different people, right? You can see the types of issues that tips off. Similarly, the other one that we hear is, boy, it takes forever to get X done, or so-and-so who's been doing it for 20 years is the only person that knows how to get that done or how it all comes together, right? Those are things that in the coming couple of years are going to become very, very important to press on and find out the underlying answers to. And so if you do that and you press on it, you can get back to kind of the upper half of that nice tree we just presented. And this is the point I'm going to kick it over to Gabe, because he can show you kind of what sort of capabilities and systems come online as you make the adjustments to go be ready for that.
Thanks, David. So as David mentioned, FP&A pitfalls and current state, I want to kind of dive into more of a future state and how FP&A technology can help your budgeting and forecasting process. And here at Armanino, our preferred FP&A solution is Workday Adaptive Planning. So Armanino partners with Workday to implement the enterprise planning and reporting cloud solution called Adaptive Planning. So as one of the leading solutions in the FP&A space, the solution is more than just financial planning, as it's also used for workforce planning or sales and operational planning and reporting as well. So given this is a cloud-based tool, users can log in anywhere from across the globe on a web browser. It's important to note too that like data can be integrated from your ERP, CRM, payroll system, really any application into Adaptive. And given the mass amount of data manufacturing businesses use, it's important that during your budgeting and forecasting process, you can have the data right in your lap without you running around. So now let's look under the hood within Adaptive itself. Okay. So first, I want to quickly show you how you might use Workday Adaptive Planning to actually model in the tool. And then I'll show you how the data is then translated into dashboards and reporting, because I want you to understand where data is coming from when I show the visuals. So first, I'm going to click on this sheet called Project Profitability Planning. So some manufacturing companies may plan revenue expenses by using the % complete method. So here's an example showing how you can do that in Adaptive, right? So in this case, we have data points such as customer, project manager, department, job name, right? Billing type, start, end date, completion percentage, right? Estimated revenue and COGS. Really, we can customize these sheets and modeling to represent how your business looks like your budgeting and forecasting. But really the most important piece here to piggyback off of David's pitfalls that he was talking about is, you can set up users in Adaptive to only see and manage the data that they own. For example, if users only own their department or location, they will only be able to see and update data in that department or location. So in this instance with Adaptive, if someone in the organizational structure just owns the United States and we give them access to that they're only going to be able to see data that falls within the United States and anything below in those departments. You're also able to manage your budgets in one centralized location without compiling tons of documents. So think of all those Excel files and tabs floating around through all those shared drives, right? This is really one piece of that puzzle where users can have one centralized location to do all of their budgeting. And then, as David mentioned, you can also integrate, from your application or your system, right? Whether it's a project management tool or any other system that you might be using. I'm going to pop over to one more sheet to just continue the concept right in Adaptive. So this is what we call workforce planning or personnel model. So you can see the personnel model is probably similar to how you might see data extracted from your HR system, right? So nothing makes a budget or forecast cycle easier than having one centralized location where all data is stored, right? So given your manufacturing business might have operations in many different areas around the country or globe, it's a great opportunity to use technology such as Adaptive's workforce planning module to centralize this information. So similar to the previous sheet we just saw, you can customize and align your business to what you currently do, and really you can have existing to be hired, open positions, all in one sheet, right? So it's all about that, having that one centralized spot to manage your data. Another important point is version control. So right now I'm in a working budget, but I could have, as many versions of I want of my 2023 budget, right? And have it all in one spot where I can toggle, I can change my assumptions, maybe 1% to 2%, and I can report in those different ways too. So, if I wanted to hire XYZ, I could what does that look like in this version compared to the next version? So really, a couple other good points about the personnel model, right? Or just adaptive in general. You can also easily allocate individual costs amongst departments, projects, jobs, right? So really to the point of those projects and jobs that may be happening within your manufacturing business. And then also you can integrate this data from your HR system, which is important. Okay. So now I gave you all the high level baseline on how modeling might look. I'll pop over to show visualization. So dashboards are a quick and easy way for budget owners and executives to view data, metrics, without getting into the weeds of the modeling. So you can see here, you can share dashboards between users and within Adaptive. So if I click in here in my personal, I go to sales analysis. You can see a couple different tabs up here. So I'm going to go to target revenue. So you can see a couple of examples of dashboarding within Adaptive, but you can see on the left side, you have two KPIs that are that are showing your budget for revenue expenses is going to exceed our target. But really, you can see the rest of these graphs are different ways to show target versus plan, whether it's a month-to-month view, whether it's a cumulative view. You can be very dynamic in how you build these dashboards out and build them to what users want to see in for month end and year reporting. So within Adaptive, you can actually drill down. So I can click this bar right here and I can say, let me see what makes up this number in March 2023 for revenue. Well, here are my 3 revenue accounts to make up that number. Okay, so there's a lot of drilling functionality, and I'll show you a little more in depth here in this next dashboard when I pop over here to product revenue. So as I was mentioned, dashboards and charts can be very interactive. So if I have a pie chart now of this revenue mixed by product group, I can actually click in this chart here. I can say, well, instead of a count before, let's look at what color makes up this product, right? And then I drill down. Well, here are the different colors, where I can drill down even further, and I can say, well, of that color, what customers make up that number, right? And then you can keep drilling down like that to really quickly see data in a fast manner. Okay. I go back, and then this last one, really just to show you high level view. You can actually have these dashboards be a home screen for individuals when they first log in. So typically your C-suite or executives, they're not trying to get into the weeds of the tool. They can log in, and then this dashboard right here can pop right up on their screen. They can see all the key metrics that they want to see, and not have to get fumble through Adaptive to find out where they need to go. So the moral of the story for dashboards is really the cleanliness and presentation, the quick access to granular data via the drill down capabilities, and the speed in which filtering and data can be seen and viewed. So if you have multi-currency, you can filter by currency, you can filter by different dimensions or attributes that are called in Adaptive, right, by different departments and time as well. Okay. So with dashboards, I'm going to pop over to reports. So there's 2 ways in Adaptive you can report. So there's something called Office Connect, which for the time, we're not going to show that right now, but Office Connect is a way to use Excel to report, but using Adaptive data. Now you also have web-based reporting, which is what I'll show you here. So you can easily share files within the shared folder. So you can share Excel files, PowerPoints, Word files, and then also like your HTML or web-based reporting as well in these folders. So I'm going to just give you a couple examples. If I click in quarterly project estimates by customer, so you can obviously create your typical financial statements through these, but here I want to show you this report really is showing projected, your net profit estimates by customer, by country, right? So you can see here I have my customers, my revenue costs, and my profits by quarter. And you have the ability to filter quarters, the ability to filter time if you need to. These reports are very dynamic, I can also drill down into this customer if I want to drill down and see what department makes up this number, right? So you have all that same drill down capability that we saw in the dashboards. So the last report I wanted to show you is daily order detail for average selling price. So obviously average selling price is an important data point for manufacturing businesses. And you can actually in Adaptive get down to the daily granularity of what's my average selling price for each day, right? And really you have the ability to use a conditional formatting to really flag variances, flag zones of variances as well. But just wanted to show you the power of Adaptive and FP&A technology and how it can really enhance your budget cycle. Okay, so really the important takeaways from Adaptive is and FP&A in general, FP&A technology is really it eliminates any business function to function disconnect and makes for easier collaboration and review amongst teams. And really that ability to scenario plan with version control, as I showed you, is a game changer, and not having to have those different V1, V2, V3 versions in your Excel files and they're flying around all over the place, right? It's all controlled environment in one space. We also talked about data visualizations are easily accessible and move dramatically as data and calculations and assumptions move and change. So once you make those changes in your modeling, those will also reflect instantly in your reporting or your dashboarding. Then we also talked about integrations and having that data fresh and current right within your model, right? So having that ability to click a button or have it run automatically, and you in the morning you come in and your data is refreshed, right? And you're working on current data. So in the end, optimizing your FP&A process is a journey. So no matter how big or small your company is, a tool like Adaptive is flexible and can adapt to your business needs. So Armanino's approach is to understand your situation and strategize on how best to optimize that FP&A process. So sometimes that means we need to walk before we run. I'm gonna pop back over to our slides here, and we have one more polling question. If Tracy, you want to launch
Okay,
the polling
yep,
question?
sorry about that. I lost my mouse.
Mhm.
And here's the last polling question.
So please reach out to our team if you love to help. We would love to help you optimize your FP&A process. Or if you're considering a new FP&A technology, we would love to show you more on how Adaptive can be the right FP&A solution for you.
Yep, and there's the results. So we will reach out to those who raised their hand here, and really appreciate everyone coming on. If there's any additional questions, please reach out to us at experts@armaninollp.com. And again, those who raise your hands will be in touch, and I really appreciate everyone jumping on today and our presenters. Thanks, everybody.
Bye,
Thanks
everyone.
for the time. Have a great day, everyone.
All right, bye.